What is up, everybody? I am Ant, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host. Introduce yourself, my friend.
Tyler Peters, as always, it is a pleasure to be with you, Ann, and let's talk about some Raw as War. How about we?
Some Raw is War, but before we talk about Raw is War, I have to talk about your what is that? What is it? Your jersey.
Yeah, it's Terrell Owens. I can't even say it.
You can
But
tell I'm a football
81.
fan.
Yeah, he's a football player, but very famous. Get your popcorn ready. You probably remember. Yeah, I'm a big
Yo,
Dallas
Terrell
Cowboys fan,
Owens.
and that's dangerous fighting words up in the Northeast because you got a lot of Giants, Jets fans, and
Yeah.
Giants. Hey, we beat them, so I know any New York, New Jersey people, maybe Connecticut. I'm not going to apologize.
Well, I am a Giants fan myself,
Oh,
so
you are? Uh-oh. That's fighting words, I guess. So it's a rivalry even between we're friends. I mean, still
yeah.
even after that game.
Yeah, I
I
mean, I
hope
didn't
so.
watch it, so I just support them.
What kind of fan are
I
you?
support them from a distance.
From a distance. Well,
Yeah.
that sometimes the Cowboys games want me to support them from far away, but that actually I was relieved that we beat them because your team had been doing very well, and obviously my team's doing pretty
You can
awesome.
see I have a drink
Yeah, you got a drink. No wonder. I mean, we're having a good time here.
toast with
Yeah,
nothing in my hand.
this is
Uh,
just coffee, so it's very boring.
I have a Coca-Cola. Anytime I go out to like a restaurant or like anywhere like that, my go-to drink is like a Coke with like lemon.
Uh
I
huh.
squeeze a lemon inside of it. And today I got looked at by all the group of people that were with me, and I'm like, listen, who doesn't like lemon in their soda? It adds more. It doesn't make sense because Coke, who wants to have more sweet
Hey,
stuff? But
Coke
I'm a
is
sweet
is
person.
awesome. Yeah, and I've heard of lemon and sweet tea down in the South, but that is a new one. I bet that is pretty good though. Lemon and Coke. I'll have to remember that.
You've never tried that before, man?
No, I have not.
Oh, dude, it is life changing. I'm telling you, watch.
It
It'll be a
sounds like it.
whole new
I'm gonna
world.
be a new person if I just
You
put
will.
some lemon with the Coca-Cola.
You'll be like the artist formerly known as Goldust, except for you'll be experiencing different liquids and drinks and hubba bubba.
Yeah, a lot more. And I'll tell you what. Speaking of this episode, we'll get into it. It wasn't the same Goldust. It was more Dustin Runnels.
A new version. Well, as Tyler introduced us earlier, we are going to be covering Raw is War from June 15th, 1998. This is the Attitude Years, episode 32. And we are live in San Antonio, Texas, which is the home of next year's Royal Rumble. So
Yeah,
excited,
exciting.
exciting to sort of put those two together. Correlation.
I think you do a brilliant job. I mean, to know that San Antonio is going to be the venue where it emanates, and you are just on fire. I mean, what can people say?
I mean, I'm here all week, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
you
here
bring the
every yeah, I
ratings.
am all week. Um, so speaking of bringing the ratings, to start off Raw, we see someone who supposedly we would never see again, and that's Sable. And she walks down to the ring, and Sable says, "It feels so good to be back. I'd like to introduce to you the person responsible for my return, Mr. McMahon." And that's when Vince walks out to the ring, and
God bless Mr. McMahon.
uh,
Sable's back.
thank God for him, but he is Vince says, in an effort to clear up the conspiracy, Sable, can you read this statement prepared by me? So then Sable takes, and starts to read. She goes, I, Vince McMahon, the humanitarian of the year, um, rescind all accusations, uh, and that he would stoop so low to further his personal agenda against Stone Cold Steve Austin. He disavows any knowledges of the attack on Stone Cold Steve Austin. He says one week ago when the attack happened. Uh, Ben says, Sable reads, I am a caring, jovial WWF owner, and I bring the parties responsible to justice. Vince says, I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. And then Vince says, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the return of Sable. And
Well, the reaction is well deserving. I mean, I think Sable, I was almost in tears when we had to say goodbye to her. And to have
yeah,
Vince McMahon, the humanitarian of the year, folks, a guy that's got a heart of gold, he's got plenty of money. I mean, he came down. He said, "We've got to have the
Oh,
blonde bombshell," and we've got a great live show. If you're watching our video version, I mean, Ann has got the disco fever. He's got the '70s going here, and we're talking '90s. This is
I
great.
guess. Well,
Uh,
maybe we should film it like this, yeah.
you're doing the Marc Mero. I'm fast forwarding. You're
Let's go.
distracting me. I'm trying to get the win in the ring.
Yeah. I'm shiny.
Yeah, you're very shiny, and I like it. I think it's good. That's your new gimmick. You've
The
got a lot of light.
shiny.
Yeah, you're shiny. Boy, I'm glad I don't work in the creative services for any wrestling company. I would be terrible. But I think it was great, incredible. It was miraculous to see Sable come back and to see Vince McMahon very jovial or joyful. I don't know what word you'd use.
Jovial.
I just made up one. I've got my own dictionary. What can I say?
Jovial.
Yeah, jovial. See, I knew it. I would screw
Mhm.
up something, but it was a great segment.
Yes. Well, Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out because he's pissed. And he says, I threw up listening to the explanation. I'm fixing to put this foot in your ass. And he says, and there's nothing you can do about it. Vince then leaves the ring as Stone Cold rips up the paper. Vince says, don't react physically, listen to reason. Stone Cold follows Vince around the ring. And then Vince says, Undertaker, the Undertaker did this, I swear. Stone Cold Steve Austin last week, or no, he says Stone Cold Steve Austin said that's your WWF title, not the Undertaker's. Last week, Undertaker knew what he was doing. Vince says he knew I would call the cops on him, so he's blaming Undertaker. Vince says I fell for it, you did, and everyone else did too. Undertaker surrounded himself with cops, so he didn't have to come make the save. Undertaker's from the dark side, and the Undertaker might as well be the devil himself. And
The
then the
Undertaker is evil, and to have Stone Cold Steve Austin, he did you notice he did a very nice thing, and he escorted and made sure Sable was out of harm's way. What a gentleman, just like Mr.
yeah,
McMahon. But I can't understand why these guys
precious
don't like each
cargo.
other. Yeah, I mean it's precious moments. It is good stuff. I mean, do you
Yeah,
agree?
yeah, no, I do agree. I think it was very kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think Sable,
I mean,
is,
he only threatened to beat him up, and then the Undertaker comes out. I mean, how kind was that?
yeah, I think he just wants Sable to know that she's safe, I guess.
I
But
think
no one
so.
else is. Undertaker comes out, Vince leaves the ring. Undertaker says, it's time I challenged you for the WWF title, but I did it like a man. I asked it's rightfully mine, a title shot. I did it with respect for you. I still respect you, that and what that title stands for. Vince McMahon, you manipulate minds of those weaker than you. He says you will never ever be able to manipulate the mind of the Undertaker. However, Kane comes out with Paul Bearer and Mankind, and Paul Bearer says, well, congratulations, Undertaker. The Academy Award for this Academy Award performance you put on last Monday. Paul Bearer
It
says, I think,
was.
well, also you're against Taker. We'll get there. Stone Cold says, I think, or I'm sorry, Paul Bearer says, I think Stone Cold Steve Austin actually believed you when you pointed your finger at Vince. We both know Vince McMahon had nothing to do with the plan. Undertaker and I had set the plan in hell. It worked pretty good, dead man. He says you like Satan, want to take Stone Cold Steve Austin's soul. You want to entrap Stone Cold Steve Austin in the cell tonight. You wanted that. There's
I
gonna
think,
be
yeah.
he says
Oh,
there's going to be an entrapment tonight on behalf of my son, Kane and Mankind. I challenge you both to a tag team match in that cell. So a lot to unpack here.
yeah, a lot there.
Jump right in.
No, and before I was rude to you, I just want to say I did not mean to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Paul Bearer, he was just coming out there trying to plead with everybody. The guy just, he works at a funeral home. I mean, it's been the big saga here that Undertaker and Kane have been feuding. Now you had McMahon, Austin, and
Yeah.
Sable even for some reason. But I'm all for. And Mankind's back, and Kane, his son now, has been revealed. And I think Paul Bearer, he deserves an Academy Award for this performance. I thought Percy Pringle was great. I loved his voice. It was very eerie. And, this version of him doesn't get enough credit. And it's a shame he didn't get more awards. Him and Double J both in Tennessee Lee. We'll get to that.
Yeah, Paul Bearer is really, setting the stage here for making us think, is Undertaker telling the truth? Is he lying? He is a dead man. You never can trust someone. So Paul Bearer is good to do that for us. So we'll talk more about that as we go
Yeah, there'll be a
on.
lot more.
There definitely will be. We have our first King of the Ring qualifying match of the night. Vader taking on the WWE Intercontinental Champion, The Rock, with the Nation. And just like last week, Commissioner Slaughter comes out and sends the Nation backstage for this match. He wants a clear-cut fight. They can respect it.
I
The
think
match
Slaughter
starts.
was wrong. Let
Oh,
him, yeah, let him free. For once, I'm against Sarge here.
oh,
Just let him go. Yeah, I'm tired of this. Let's break the rules.
let
Let's,
the inmates run the asylum.
yeah, who cares if it's fair?
Go back. So Vader nails a flying splash and gets a 2 count. Rock hits a DDT and then a people's elbow, which then also gets a 2. The Rock then nails a clothesline to Vader outside of the ring. However, Mark Henry runs down and nails a splash to Vader outside, and The Rock hits a rock bottom and gets a 3. And The Rock is moving on to the King of the Ring with the help of Mark Henry, of course. What'd you think?
I thought this was a good match. I had forgot that Vader and The Rock had actually wrestled. And this was interesting just in that dynamic alone and to see how well and stiff Vader worked. It's like he did get a little more tamed, having to work with, people before he came in to the company and with a talent like The Rock. And The Rock showing that disrespect, being that blue chipper everybody talks about, and for all the right reasons. And just good back and forth, good psychology. I liked how Mark Henry got involved because they were feuding, so it made sense. It had logic to it. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to be professional and analyze this match without being too comedic, but that's coming. Don't let this facade fool you.
Oh, we're gonna get some
So,
kind of comedy down the line.
oh,
Okay.
we're going to have to, but it's like a special attraction. I don't want to overexpose the comedic elements.
It's like Disney
Yeah,
World. Why pay over
yeah, I
three
mean,
thousand dollars? Just
Disney World, that's why it delivers. I mean, I hadn't been there in years because it's too many people, but I love it. I think Disney World used to when I was a kid. I enjoyed it.
well, I think that's why Ric Flair calls it Space Mountain, right? He likes Disney World too.
Yeah, he's made a lot of history on Space
Mhm.
Mountain and major props and respect to the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Yes, but yeah, King of the Ring, Rock is moving on. We then go backstage and we see DX dropping some knowledge because later on Triple H is going to fight X-Pac. This is just a funny segment of how pretty much are saying that they can't beat the other person, and then China chimes in at the end. Guys, can we just go out there and wrestle? That happens. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know if
was
that
more
had,
entertaining, kind of
yeah,
funny, ha-ha moments, and
yeah.
leave it to DX. And it did pose for an interesting match later with X-Pac having to actually face his
Mm.
teammate Triple H. So I'm with you.
I was very excited. I love when friends fight because you can tell when they really want to see the best for the other, and they had a good match, but we'll get there. Uh,
Exactly.
Next, we have Double J Jeff Jarrett with Tennessee Lee uh, taking on Puke for this match. And before the match starts, Marvelous Marc Mero and his main squeeze, Jacqueline, walk down. And
Whoa.
Mero asks Jim Ross why Sable is back. And Jim Ross saying, listen, I have no clue. Vince McMahon asked him pretty much. The match starts, and not really, a lot going on in this match. Jarrett nails a DDT. Jacqueline slaps Tennessee Lee outside of the ring, and then Marvelous Marc Mero low blows Jeff Jarrett outside of the ring, and then Puke rolls up Jeff Jarrett for the win. So this match is kind of more of a way to get Jarrett and Mero going, it seems.
Yeah, to
But
keep that feud going.
that dastardly Mero
Yeah,
and
what's Mero doing? That guy's Grammy Award winning. I mean, talking about Double J, Jeff Jarrett, Tennessee Lee from a home state. Fuller, how dare he? That's Robert Fuller, a legend in the business. And, Jacqueline is very attractive. I even got distracted watching it like Sable. Uh, Boy, she needs to be on camera more. But what I was going to say, let me try to be very honest. This match was not that bad. They wrestled each other very well, but yeah, that's all it was. I'm not going to break it down. I'm not going to give you the analytics. And you pretty much said
Well,
it.
what about Tyler is the only thing we got from this is Jacqueline looked really good. Robert Fuller, I
Well,
down
yeah, I
there.
think we've got to give them credit. I said all
Yeah.
about the wrestlers. I mean, Jeff Jarrett and Mero are good, or Droz. I mean, I'm not saying they were bad, but, I was kind of looking in the candy store, and one side. I don't want to say it for both of them
What
because
type of candy is Jacqueline?
I'm not going to go there, but I see what you did there. I respect her. Very talented, great wrestler. Sure, she's a beautiful lady, but we better move on
I'm
before I get
sure she's a
myself
pretty
in
good
more
Laffy
trouble.
Taffy. So
Well, never mind.
speaking of getting in trouble with Laffy Taffies, Val Venus's locker room is making some weird noises. Adults here would sort of know what those noises are, but
Yeah, Val Venus knows how to get himself in some very intriguing situations, if you will.
like, like what? It's okay.
Hello, lady.
Uh, we then get another segment with DX dropping knowledge again. We then get another match. We have Chainz taking on Val Venus, and Chainz hits a clothesline and a running elbow drop to Val Venus. Val then drops Chainz across the ropes. Val then nails a big boot to Chainz, and then Val nails a slam, tosses Chainz off the turnbuckle, and hits a money shot and gets a 3. So for these beginning matches for Val pretty much just is dominating. But what do you think of Val so far?
I think Val's doing great. I love the gimmick. All the ladies seem to be very much enthused by it. And I'll tell you what, Chainz, Brian Lee's a great wrestler. I think, both these guys actually wrestled a pretty decent matchup. And hey, you can't beat the money shot. And you got to keep realistically pushing Val Venus because he is your newer star and
Mm-hmm.
stud, so to speak. Get that reference? Because you heard about the locker room, those noises. I'm not going to go into that. I mean,
That
most people can
young
make up their
stud,
minds.
that young
Uh,
buck.
yeah, and always great on the mic, the promos. So got a lot of respect for him. And Chainz, great wrestler. Not sure I got the gimmick, but obviously maybe he was in the box and stuff. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I think at this point, these whole like sort of little weird gangs, are coming to
Hmm.
an end. Los Boricuas seem to be ending.
Yeah,
Um,
Savio Vega's group.
yeah, we have what was the name of the group where it was like Kirk, not the oddities because those guys were just starting, but the other group that Kurgan was in, it was him.
Truth
Uh,
Commission.
yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yep,
had Callis. Yeah,
that was
but
ending.
Callis I think may have continued with the oddities, or how long
Yeah,
did that last?
he introduced him I think a couple weeks ago. And there really wasn't much from it, and then he sort of
No,
yeah.
it's a shame that fell apart because I think there was a lot of potential there. And if I'm not mistaken, Bret Hart may have helped get him into the WWF at the time.
Ooh, interesting news from my good friend Tyler Peters here.
I try.
So we get an interview with Undertaker backstage, and he basically just says again he wants a title match against Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think at this point we know Taker. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I
sure we
mean,
know.
Taker's going to get the title shot, but he has to tell Kevin Kelly in front of the cameras so it's convincing. And I
Hey,
mean, you've got the dead man. Can Austin be trusted? I think that's the big theme. And
no,
question
no.
it, and who knows?
Dun dun dun. Speaking of dun dun dun, we have Dustin Runnels coming out taking on Marvelous Marc Mero, who has Jacqueline by his side.
I'm
And
looking forward to this match.
before the match starts, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, Tennessee Lee, and Southern Justice come out. Now, my only issue here is why didn't they let Southern Justice come out for Jarrett's match? They're his
I don't
bodyguards.
understand that. Yeah, I think maybe they showed him at ringside at one point, or maybe I'm mistaken with
Yeah,
all
I
these
don't know.
episodes.
I don't know. But
But to see the Godwins like they're James Bond type villains is pretty cool, though. I
yeah,
actually
they're like
liked it.
the very cool country 90s bodyguards. Very, very
Well,
interesting.
Tennessee Lee can take care of himself, but they needed an insurance policy. And
Hmm.
knowing Mero,
Yeah,
Jacqueline's really tough. I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think her looks may have really intimidated as big as the
Well,
Godwins were.
they finished, with Shania Twain's biggest hit, You're Still the One. They finished touring with her, and then Jeff Jarrett gave them calls.
That's
So
what
listen,
it was.
I need you guys here immediately. So
And
they
he's got
finished
that
that up.
connection in Nashville. Double
Yeah,
J's the man. You
that's
don't
how
mess with
they
Jeff Jarrett.
That's how they left the hog pen. They were in Arkansas. They got called by Shania Twain. Well, actually, they initially talked to Jewel because Jewel's actually from Arkansas, the singer. She
All
connected them
right.
with Shania Twain, and then Shania Twain was like, "Yo, join my team." They joined her, and then she's like, "Yo, Jeff Jarrett is a #1 country singer of all time. Give you his number." Jarrett hooks them up. Hey, I need someone to help me. I need some backup, and that's how they got there. Sorry,
Yeah,
long
Joel for
story,
the
but
Hall of Fame. I
yeah.
think she deserves the nomination just for that alone. Get her in the Hall of
Yeah,
Fame.
because Jules' family are like from the backwoods. Yep.
Hmm.
So anyway, so long story short, I'm happy to see Southern Justice.
I am too. I'm a big fan, a supporter.
Yeah. So basically, here's the match. Mero tosses Dustin Runnels into the steps, and then Mero nails a power bomb. Runnels with a drop and a punch and an atomic drop to Mero. Mero nails a flying Hurricane Rana, which gets a 2 count. Jarrett gets on the apron, and Sable walks down to the ring, distracting Mero. And then Runnels hits a bulldog, and he gets a 3 count. After the match, when things get a little weird, Dustin says, I need to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ right now for this win. So let's unpack this. Sable's still a distraction to Miro. And I can understand Jackie being upset, but why are you getting mad at Sable? Be mad at Miro. He's the one that's still. I mean, listen, you can't hate a man. If Sable looks that
No,
good,
I'd be distracted too. I was about to
I
say
would be too.
I'd have to have double vision, and I'm not talking about the Foreigner song. I mean, if I saw Sable or Jacqueline,
Vision.
I mean, come on, that's two bombshells. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the work rate and storytelling from Dustin Runnels is always top notch. Mero always had the skills, the athletic techniques, some things I actually did do some homework in. You'll be proud of me. I wrote down, and that bulldog by Dustin was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But he was thanking God for that victory, and I tell you what, I was praying to Jesus because I could see Sable another time, and I could see Jacqueline, and then we get Sonny later. So that was enough for me, if I'm being transparent, to really praise God and really give
This
Him
was
glory.
a very good episode for you.
It's got it all. I mean, all my favorite wrestlers, at least most of
Yeah,
them, and
your favorite pastimes. You get
yeah,
the
I mean,
sun,
I
sunny.
like baseball, but wrestling's kind of our
Yeah.
pastime too. Yeah, it's my
Oh,
favorite sport.
woo!
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we've got those noises going on.
So, yeah. So Dustin Rose thanking God, and Tyler is too. Uh,
Yeah, I'm giving a lot of the accolades to the creator because the create something, or at least several that beautiful. I'll tell you what, that's my respect. I don't want people getting the wrong idea about me. I mean, help me out here, and it's all about trying to preserve the beauty, and gracefully. How about that word? That they walk down to the ring, they interfere in matches, but they really have the capabilities to go in the ring. At least Jacqueline, I would say, just to be fair.
losing my religion,
Okay,
trying to
REM.
keep up with you. Okay.
No, I like it. I think you do a good job with that.
Thank you, sir. So we're going to cover this next match, and then we'll give our thoughts maybe after the break. We have a King of the Ring qualifying match. X-Pac taking on his friend, the WWE European Champion Triple H. And here are some notes from this match. X-Pac nails kicks to Triple H's face. China comes down and tosses X-Pac back into the ring after Triple H nails a knee lift to him, sending him outside. Triple H nails a vertical suplex and a knee drop and gets a 2 count. And then X-Pac nails a spinning heel kick to Triple H's face. China then tosses Triple H into the ring. So we don't know who really she is sort of,
She's being fair,
rocking
is
with.
what she's doing. She
Yep.
is doing her job. There's no favoritism here on behalf of China.
Yep. And then The Rock is in the audience as Triple H sends X-Pac outside into the railing. And The Rock says, when you pin The Rock, it was part of a plan. If you want to smell what The Rock is cooking, turn around. And then Owen Hart attacks X-Pac's leg. And X-Pac tells Triple H to get in the ring before the count is, passed. And Triple H rolls in.
Mm-hmm.
And after the match, DX checks on X-Pac. So this whole entire master plan sort of unfolded for the nation. They were
It
able to
did.
distract both members. And Triple H kind of looked silly here. Give me your quick thoughts before we go to break.
I thought it was a good match. Triple H, seeing him and X Pac both great and smooth workers. I just got to say, I did not even see Owen Hart till the replay. They did a great job. The Rock really pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. How dare Owen Hart attack X Pac? But I thought it was a beautiful work of art.
Yeah.
I enjoy stuff like that makes you suspend your disbelief even within a wrestling match. So that's my quick takeaways.
Well, listen, I was excited to see those two guys get to have a singles match again. I said earlier, it's good when friends fight.
Me as
Um,
well.
like you said, that dastardly Owen Hart, it's hard to talk, poorly about him. He's such a great, guy, but
Yeah, he was
wrestling
actually
wise,
a terrific human being, but he did that role so well as the heel.
terrible, terrible, dastardly nugget. But
How
yeah,
dare he?
eventually shit's gonna hit the fan. But we're gonna take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to see Al Snow. He's very charismatic. Do a special
Oh, I
tag
love it.
match. Owen and Mark Henry taking on Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock. A special tag team Royal Rumble, and The Undertaker and Stone Cold. Will they team up to take on Kane and Mankind and Hell in a Cell? Find out when we come back. Stay with us. And we are back, y'all. Hello, welcome back to the Attitude Years. I'm Ant, joined by my friend and this is gonna be long time co-host. It's now been like 2-3 months now. I mean, we've been killing the game, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. He's finally allowed me on his show, and so far I'm not embarrassing too much, so I must be doing something right. I mean,
Mm.
you vouch for that, or should people know the truth?
Tyler is my favorite podcaster.
I'm gonna start crying. Where's the Kleenexes? I need a John Deere letter. Yeah.
So I love, what does that quote mean? Because people say that all the time.
The John Deere letter. You know what?
A Dear
That is
John
something
letter,
that,
you
that
mean Dear
everybody
John
kind of
letter.
like the Hallmark card reference. That's why I think about that for some
Sounds like
weird reason.
your Dear John, sounded me like an insult. I was like, your Dear John apology letter. And I'm like, well, what is Dear John? Isn't that the movie with
There is a movie with that title.
and he
It's
like
something to do with an
doesn't she
emotional
like leaves
response.
him like with the letter? Something happens where she like leaves him in a letter or
She
something.
does. She leaves him, but at least he's got the letter. Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert
Come
to
on.
anybody who hasn't seen Dear John. Um,
I haven't.
broken up by a letter. That sucks. I
Yeah.
haven't
Sounds
broken
like
up.
a great
I haven't
song,
broken
too.
up through Facebook. Fucking any sort
We
of
have fun. We keep everything entertaining.
those
That's what
fucking
this
chicks
show's
are like, fuck
about.
you, and I'm gonna break up with you however way I want. Um, their prerogative. Cool.
Hmm.
So here we go. We see Al Snow come out to the ring. We're back to Raw Is War from June 15th, 1998.
Nice transition.
Yeah. And we have Al Snow. He comes out to the ring and he's dressed as his old character Avatar. And Jerry Lawler gets in the ring and Jerry Lawler says, everyone knows you're Al Snow. And Al says, that was the whole stupid gimmick. And King says, you won't get any meeting with Vince McMahon. And Al says, I knew I was going to get a meeting. I have to have a citizen's arrest, one for Vince McMahon trying to kill my career. And then King says, your problem is a stupid head. Get rid of this. And then Al Snow attacks the King. He hits a snow plow to the referee. And then Al Snow nails Jerry King Lawler with head and he runs from the guard. So kind of silly stuff here.
It's a silly segment, but I did laugh. I have to admit. To me, Al Snow's just he's a treasure. He I was going to say the greatest luchador to come out was Al Snow dressed in
Avatar.
that garb. Yeah, Avatar, and not the movie. It was Lucha Libre. Who knew? But Head is always phenomenal. Jerry the King Lawler, it was silly segments, but he always was a good utility guy for this because he had that experience, pay per views or Raw. So it is what it is. But I got to admit, I found humor in it.
Yeah, it was a pretty funny segment. Al Snow's always, good for that. And I really like Al Snow as a person too. Tough enough years, all that
I
cool.
think he's a good guy, but yeah,
Yeah.
tough enough. And now I think he's over OVW, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
I didn't even know WWE still even exists, man.
Well, I think it's kind of a revival of sorts of
Mm,
OVW, but he's kind of
very
heading
cool.
that. Speaking of head, that promotion. See what happened there? I mean, it all segues. Speaking of
With
transitions,
respect. Um, our next match we have Owen Hart and Mark Henry taking on Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock. Interesting tag match here. Owen hits an enziguri to Ken. Owen then nails a low blow, and then Mark Henry nails a slam to Ken Shamrock, and then a power slam, and he gets a two. Dan Severn applies an armbar, and then Mark Henry chokes Dan in the corner, and Owen nails a low blow to Severn and double team Severn. Owen then accidentally missile drop kicks Mark Henry, and then Ken Shamrock nails a power slam to Owen Hart, but Owen's able to apply a sharpshooter. However, DX run down and they attack Owen Hart and Mark Henry. And then after the match, Ken Shamrock attacks Owen, Vader attacks Mark Henry, and everyone brawls with the nation. And it's just a melee. What do you think about this one?
I thought this was a good matchup. I
Yeah.
think there was a lot of factors. You mentioned them. Ken Shamrock coming to the ring angry was always epic. I enjoyed that aspect of it. Mark Henry showed the power. Shamrock and Severn had to rely on their quickness, and Owen Hart was more of the wrestler who could match up with both Shamrock and Severn, at least in that kind of wrestling setting. I'm not saying in shoot fighting,
Yeah.
but the belly suplex on Mark Henry by Dan Severn was impressive. I mean,
Yeah.
for him to pick that big guy up, so it was a good match. I like the chaos because it was at least continuing the rivalries of all these, whether it's factions or singles or tag teams. So
Yeah.
that's what I liked about it.
They made sure we're getting their payback, man. They were getting what's
They
coming.
are. They're getting their vengeance. They're tired of it.
Hmm.
Why not? Let's just let them, like you said, a melee. I believe
Let
you
them
used.
brawl. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
So we have our next match. I'm not going to go over the competitors because there's too many. It's a tag
It's
team
too
Royal
much.
Rumble. This match, was it just to determine the champions, or was this just the number one? It was the number one
Number
contenders,
one
right?
contenders, I
Okay.
believe. I think Slaughter came out or something, or maybe they announced it. Jr. Or it was the King because this was the second hour. Him and Michael
Yeah.
Cole are the first hour. So
And then pretty much the winners are Kane and Mankind after Kane tombstones Scorpio, and then he big boots a chair in the face of Terry Funk, and they get the win. After the match, Mankind has all the stories they tell of how Stone Cold Steve Austin fell. The dead man, this isn't the end, it's only the beginning. At King of the Ring, it's my turn to play. I guarantee you, dead man, it won't be a nice day. So Mankind has a message for the Undertaker. These two are number one contenders for the tag team titles, Kane and Mankind. What do you think? Are they the right guys to sort of? They're kind of in two different storylines now. It seems like because now they're
yeah,
going for the
they are.
tag titles and they're after Austin and Taker.
They're trying to really elevate them, even without needing to do it, because you
Hmm.
got Paul Bearer because they come out as a surprise. You
Yep.
didn't really see that coming because even commentary they mentioned it. And yeah, it was a lot of pretty decent action, but hard to keep up with. I'm with you there. And what did Terry Funk ever do? I mean, he's only hardcore. He can take some chair shots, but I love Terry Funk. I thought it was always good to see him in there. And there was just so many good teams. LOD 2000, we get Sunny, but seriously, I am a big fan of Hawk and Animal, and we just got a lot of moving parts, so it was hard to keep up with, but it wasn't bad. And
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with Kane and Mankind being number one contenders because I think it changes it up a little bit.
I agree. Definitely interesting. Interesting pairing. Both of them have a relationship with Paul Bearer, so it makes sense. Well,
Right.
we are here at our main event, the Hell in a Cell tag team match. Mankind and Kane taking on the WWE champion Stone Cold Steve Austin and the Undertaker. Undertaker's music comes on, but no one comes out. Undertaker is nowhere to be found.
Where was he?
I
Because
don't
there's no
know.
cops this week.
There's no cops. Where is Taker? So Stone Cold starts fighting with Kane and Mankind on the ramp as Paul Bearer locks himself in the cell. Kane backdrops Stone Cold on the ramp. However, Undertaker comes from under the ring and he attacks Paul Bearer inside the cell. Kane climbs the top of the cell. Undertaker sends Paul into the cell many times and he shreds Paul Bearer's face in the cell. Paul is busted open. Stone Cold Steve Austin nails Mankind with a steel chair, and then Stone Cold and Kane fight on top of the cell as Raw goes off the air. Undertaker outsmarting Paul Bearer and Mankind and Kane, telling them, keep my name out of your mouth. There's really no. This doesn't really tell us anything. It's not saying that
It
Undertaker
keeps us
isn't
guessing.
involved. Yeah. So Awesome is able to get his hands on Kane and Mankind. They fight on top of the cage. Good ending to this sort of crazy Raw so
It
far.
was a
What do you
wild
think?
night.
What do you think? Are you happy that King of the Ring's coming up soon? What do you think?
I am happy about King of the Ring. It's coming up in the near future for 1998. I gotta say though, what did Paul Bear ever do? He only called out the Undertaker for causing the funeral home fire. His mother, getting the nasty on with her. I mean, what did poor Paul Bear ever do? Him and Kane and Mankind, then Stone Cold. That was a great climatic kind of segment. You said it the way to end the show where he's battling Kane on top of Hell in a Cell. That cage, that steel cage like structure is what I'm getting at. So I like the way it ended. I just wanted to be a little more funny and say, what did Paul Bear ever do? Just like with Vince McMahon. I mean, they're only doing
You
their
can't,
jobs.
you can't hit the player. You got to hit the game taker. I mean, what are you supposed to do? He saw.
Yeah, with all due respect to the Phenom, I mean, hey, Paul Bear was he was just there. He couldn't help it. I mean,
I will say that I think that if Paul Bearer isn't lying about Undertaker, I think that he definitely caused some trauma for Taker for sure if he did do what Paul Bearer is claiming that he did.
Well, Paul Bear didn't deny it thanks to that Lawler and Bear interview, in the locker room
Mhm,
from a while back now, now that we've recapped enough of these
mhm,
episodes.
Hitting the fan, man. So before we go, what was your favorite moment of the night? Crazy Raw.
It was a crazy Raw. Favorite moment? I've got to go back to the tag team match we just talked about. I liked the Shamrock Severn taking on the Nation members, Owen Hart and Mark Henry. And I like the McMahon segment. I know everybody's going to go, oh, because Sable came out. Yeah, that's a big part of it, but it was ingenious on McMahon's part. It's all that humanitarian kind of award gimmick that they're, playing up to. And I liked the way it finished. I liked, Kane and Mankind and Undertaker beating up on Paul Bearer, which was different.
Yeah.
To see Bear bleeding and actually, have to take a lot of bumps. Not that he wasn't capable of, I believe he is. And, seeing Stone Cold and Kane on top of the cage. So pretty much what we highlighted was all good
Yeah.
stuff.
For me, I like the cage moment too, where you see the two, Kane and Austin, fighting on top of the cage.
Oh, it was
Austin wasn't
legendary.
afraid. This is the big red monster that everyone's afraid of. Austin didn't give a
Yeah, I
fuck.
mean, he's a Texas rattlesnake. He's going to go
Yeah,
through hellfire and brimstone, those flames, man, and get after that big red guy.
he's gonna go after them. Well, before we go, a couple of things. I want to go over our next couple of episodes that are going to be coming up. So we just got done with this episode, which is June 15th. Our next Attitude Years episode is 33, Raw Is War, June 22nd, 1998, live in Austin, Texas. The last stop to King of the Ring, which
Yep,
will
King of the
then,
Ring.
yes, sir, which will then take place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on June 28th, 1998. And then episode 35, Raw Is War, comes to you from Cleveland, Ohio, the night after this infamous King of the Ring pay-per-view, June 29th, 1998. Couple good episodes coming
Yeah,
up.
there's going to
Don't
be
want to miss.
lot of good ones, like you stated, and how fitting and appropriate, Austin, Texas, and we got Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Austin, Texas. So before we go, Tyler, quick, tell people where they can find you and check you out.
Well, they can find me on the Rewind Wrestling Radio podcast on that network, and also on Standing Strong with Waylon Myers. Both great shows. Also, Back When with Danny and Tyler, another great show. And Wrestle Buddy, I get to do articles for them and appear on some podcasts, and they've got a lot of great shows and content. And also Geek Buddy, which is kind of the sister website. So I've been able to do a little bit of work. So enough about me, and because this show, all the shows deserve credit, even if I'm not on them, including this one, the Uncensored Wrestling Podcast with yours truly at. Always a fun time, my friend. So got to plug your show as well. And like I said, there may be some others, and I don't mean anything by it, but I'll get to you. Send me a list, a reminder.
100%. 100%. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Really quick, we're available on YouTube. Just search the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast. Give us a 5-star. No, I'm thinking about Spotify. It's not.
It
We're talking
works.
about
Hey, just
YouTube.
give us a 5-star review rating.
Yeah, give us a 5-star comment on YouTube. Give us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, stay notified when new content is dropped. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast. I need to go
Just
home.
everything. No,
Everywhere.
everything. Apple. I
Everywhere.
mean, it's
Apple
Google, the
Podcasts,
world, Japan,
Spotify,
Mexico.
Google, Japan, Amazon Music, Apple. Yeah, I just said Apple like 10 times.
I
Apple should
love
be
it.
sponsored by me right now. And
Yeah, Apple's getting a
Coca-Cola.
lot of
Always drink your
sponsorship.
Coca-Cola. Always in great taste.
And Coca Cola is a great sponsor. Great drink.
That's right. Well, yes, everyone, be safe, and we will be back with
And
our
be
next
careful.
Attitude Years episode. Yes, be careful, be safe, hug your loved ones, let them know that you love them. We're in a sad world right now, y'all.
It is a sad world, and we need more happiness. That's why we're hoping our content. I know with Ann on his behalf, I hope I'm assisting him because I think it's just been a blast.
All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Yeah, give peace a chance. Absolutely.
And we're also saying that Sable's got some hot tatas. And with that, we are signing.
Well, yeah. Now, boy, you wanted to distract me. I'm speechless.
Bop, bop, bop. All right. You guys have a good night, and we will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.